Father left me an acre of land and a bunch of green holly and ivory.
A Town Called Autumn. Written and directed by Regan. This is a production of Regan's Voice.
I am awoken, and I know it's not my usual time to rise. Instead of the slow pulse of my morning alarm, I am instead roused by the swift pitter-patter of something, or indeed, someone in the loft space. A tight, triangular space is all that is up there, where the thatched roof comes together in a point. However, despite the lack of space, in all honesty, it sounds like a small army charging around up there. No matter, so long as they stay up there and I stay down here, I'm sure I'll get along with my new residents swimmingly. My limbs, especially my long, some might say too long, arms still ache and creak from the stress and deep lesions I received from that which went down in the warehouse. Not unexpected, but no less painful, of course. However, regardless of the discomfort, today is not my day off. I break into a run from the hallway, past my mother in her pod, making sure not to knock her off the countertop, and burst out of the kitchen barn door, then carry on running past the pump and away. I know that Miss Crickety would be out there and would want to converse, but not today for me. There is nothing wrong, and I have nothing against the aging lady, of whose face I have never seen in all the days I have known her. It's just that some days I'm not in the mood for conversation. It's not rude nor selfish of me, it's just how I am. And regrettably, some folks can't grasp that. So the only way I can avoid interaction with her, should I need to during a crisp autumn morning, is to run right past her. I can hear her attempting to catch up to me, very swift for her age, especially while pushing her wheeled shopping hopper through the leaf bric-a-brac. However, shortly after I have made a little distance from the house, I hear the telltale sign of the end of the chase. Either her leg or one of the wheels of the hopper gave out, and the soft thud of her falling into the piles of leaves either side of the path. She will be there again tomorrow morning. Perhaps then I will feel ready to chat. The town square seems quiet and lifeless, and quite right too. Today I will be delivering one of my many sermons to my flock. For when it is not my day off, I am the mouth of the one who is in all of us, the one whose eyes push and prod at the back of our own, in order to only be able to see that which we do, the one who resides in our brains, and our hands and our mouths, the one who makes every decision we make, for all of those are theirs, the halls of Pomperenos, and the true deity of us all, Pomperenos. Made, be it in love, sadness, passion, or even hate, is that of Pomperenos, and therefore the correct decision. Now, I know what you must be saying out there, mouth of the Renoose. So when I saw Sandra planting that devil ivy by the fence that divides her garden from mine, knowing full well that it would obstruct the view once grown of the window to the shed shower room at the bottom of her garden that I can see from my deck chair, and despite asking to stop, she continued with her jaw snapped open like a python in that kind of, oh yeah, what are you going to do about it kind of look. So in response, I set the fence ablaze, in the hope it would douse the seedlings, forgetting in that moment that the fence connects directly to Sandra's house, which is entirely made out of canvas and birchwood. And the last thing that you remember, and what you hear each day when you wake up, are the guttural screams of her and her 7 rescue koala bears burning to ash for 7 hours that it took for their bodies to fully blow away. And you are telling me that that was the right thing to do, child of Renouse, believer and carrier of their divine nature? Well, yes. Why do we decide if in that moment that we do not believe it to be the right thing to do? We all contain their wisdom, and although in the darkest of times it may seem like their wisdom is conflicting, contradicting, and unclear, just know each decision you make is leading you to the glorious day they shall reveal themselves to us made flesh. Until that day, we carry their decision in ourselves and as our own. So go forth and know that your will is far more than just yours. Hard to tell each day if my words have inspired, angered, or even been heard by the congregation. For each moment of the service, they sit bolt upright, their eyes unblinking from start to finish, bulging out of their heads and tears cascading to their pale faces. However, mouths perfectly still, neither in a smile nor in a frown. As soon as my final word has been spoken, their eyes return to normal, in the normal way that a new pair of eyes push their way through the old ones, like a flower blooming from a green bud after pushing itself through the rich soil. This place of intense and devoted worship is not a construction built by that of a humanoid creature. No. Instead, it is grown. It is said in the texts and whispers of the Renoose that these places of worship shall only appear where their guidance is needed the most, and one, just like me, shall be chosen to speak their truth. The whole of Renouse forms like thick tree roots, bursting forth from the soil during the night and clambering up as if to chase one of the 3 moons in the sky, getting twice the height of a regular house before converging on the center to make a roof of sorts. Over time, fireflies and other glowing critters make their home in the spring root branches and provide the perfect lighting for my services. Of course, the appearance of the Hall of Renouse is not entirely embraced by all. The night the roots first emerged, they did in part demolish and split in half Bill's hairband emporium, reducing by half the available stock and shop space for our wonderful autumn town. Well, Bill, I must say, if the arrival of the true deity means that our townsfolk have slightly more messy heads of hair, then frankly, so be it. It takes a lot out of me to deliver the services I do to our town. In my opinion, when you are working in a job and you are doing it properly, it should feel like you are giving a little bit of yourself to the job at hand, whether it be in a large corporation or a tiny independent business, painting small, happy faces on all the mushrooms in and around the town in a hope that people may stop recoiling in horror whenever they see one of our friendly capped residents has popped out to say hello. A piece of you that no matter how hard you may try, you will never get back. It's gone, like really gone, and you will cry and despair over its absence. Just like when it snows, or how I imagine it is when it snows, should it ever snow again, the air goes a deep quiet, almost so quiet that you can hear it. However, instead of snow, a flurry of golden, deep reds and brown leaves begin to fall. Well, of course, I find it highly amusing that there are people out there who believe that all the hundreds of leaves on the ground that we trudge through every day come exclusively from the trees that we can see. High above, perched atop the clouds, I suspect that there are trees growing there too. After all, what do we think the farmers who so lovingly attend our fields eat? We only put out water for them, so it stands to reason that this sudden heavy fall of leaves has been caused by some kind of feeding frenzy up there. They fall so slowly that the sun's beams from its setting pierce the skin of the leaves, lighting them up and casting shadows of their inner entrails all over my skeletal form. It makes me wonder, far past our little town, past the necks and whatever kind of heads the farmers have, up into the vastness of space itself, are there any other worlds or moons where beautiful things like this are happening? And are there any people or creatures intelligent enough to appreciate the beauty of its delicate and temporary nature? Have they too created work, farmed on an industrial level, and created schools where a board of directors hundreds of miles away have imposed a curriculum based off figures? Or rather, instead, have they simply continued to enjoy the beauty of the world around them and realized, perhaps all along, that was enough? When realizing that, would they ever build taller buildings than the clouds? Would they ever design craft to get them to somewhere far away just so they could observe somewhere new? Would they ever yearn for anything other than home? Home, in sight now as I trudge up the path past a pile of leaves that I suspect Miss Crickety had fallen in, the indent that she would have made now covered with more leaves. Well, if that's not a depiction for life and its problems, then I ask you, what is? If you simply wait long enough, then what seemed insurmountable and impossible at the time will in time soften and become more bearable. As I open the kitchen door, I see the silhouetted form of my mother on the countertop, her leaves drooped in a saddened shape. That is until the door lets out a guttural squeak, and her leaves prick up at the sound of me arriving home. I tend to my mother by topping up her water and using a teardropper to place a ball of water on each of her leaves to act as gradual hydration throughout the night. The space above my bed, just off from the ceiling, hangs hundreds and thousands of strands of yarn, crossing over each other and disappearing into the void of other colours, and then reappearing further along. The perfect thing to focus on for the best night's sleep is trying to fathom an impossible task, and just like so, my eyelids flicker down and reveal this time deep purples and pinks, like tree blossom. A phenomenon we have not seen for some time in our 1 acre of land.
You have been listening to A Town Called Autumn, Episode 2, Falling Leaves, written and directed by Regan. This is a production of Regan's Voice.